Hey everyone, here is another Cinema 4D tutorial that covers rendering with an alpha channel. All right, so here's what we've got here. The basic scene I've got is a t-shirt that I found in the asset browser. I've got a physical sky set up, and I've got a light in the front to give it a little bit more light, and then I have a disk to catch a shadow, and this is kind of what the render looks like. All right, and I'm going to be putting this in our Photoshop file here. All right. Let's ditch this so we can see how to do this. All right, we're making a monumental t-shirt. So here's what we can do. We have got everything set up in our scene lit how we want it to. It looks great. I am going to go to my render settings, and under output, I'm just going to change this to a bigger ratio. So I've clicked lock ratio and I've made this 1440 so I know it scales up to a good size that I can use, right? You can scale it bigger if you like as well. Don't make it smaller. Okay. The next thing is go to save and choose PNG. PNG will allow you to save with something called an alpha channel. This here needs to be checked on as well. So go ahead and check alpha channel. Alpha channel will make sure that we have a translucent background for our object. It will make it much easier for syncing into a scene. Now I've decided to go ahead and try to do this to catch the shadows as well. I think there's a way to do it without doing it this way, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to do this side. It's not too hard to clean up at the end. All right, so I've got this set up. I'm saving to a PNG. I'm going to render this to the picture viewer. It renders pretty quick. Okay, so here we have our render. Let's check it out. It looks good. If you didn't choose a path, then you make sure you need to save it here. File, save image as, make sure it's listed as PNG, make sure this alpha channel is clicked on. All right. Finally, we hit OK, and it will ask us for a path. We will save this as t-shirt number 2. I've already saved it, but I'm going to replace it. So we're set to go. Okay, Photoshop, let's open this up. Open it, t-shirt 2, see how it looks. Okay, you can see most of it comes in with this transparent background. We just have a little bit of this disk that we need to clean up. So we can do that with our tool. Let's try. So we're going to choose the magic wand that's here under this menu, magic wand. All right, and we'll try this with tolerance of 20 and see how we do. So I'm going to click outside of here. That's pretty good. It's grabbed everything in this disk and left the t-shirt and the shadow. All right, so I'm just going to hit delete, deselect, and I think it looks pretty good. To check it out, well, we'll just copy and paste it, put it in the scene. Let's adjust the levels a little bit. I think this is going to be a little bit brighter. Okay, that's good. Select all, Control C, Control V into our scene. Not bad, looks pretty good. So here we can place it. All right, we can scale it if we need to, Command T, maybe make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Over to the side, right there. That looks pretty good. When I brighten this up, I made my shadow a little bit too light as well. So let's take our burn tool. Okay, let's make a little bigger brush. Let's burn midtones 50%. Let's make this a little bit darker. All right. The more you go over it, the darker it'll get. Something like this is a little better. All right. I'm going to show you a little trick here called using the history brush, which can be kind of fun to use. I'm also going to take my figure here and go up above t-shirt. There you go. Now that doesn't cover it up. Okay, let's talk history brush. I'm going to blur this out, the whole thing, and repair it back to where it was, except for the shadow. Let's go to filter and blur and Gaussian blur. Now, what I'm looking for, oh, wrong file, cancel. Click on the layer you want there. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I want to blur this just for the shadow. So I want that shadow to look pretty fuzzy. Not that fuzzy. something like that. That looks okay. All right. So it's great for the shadow, terrible for the t-shirt. There's little boxes in the history. If you click the layer previously, it looks like this. Forward looks like that. So if I click this layer here, I can actually paint with the previous action. So what do I mean by that? There's a tool called the history brush. If I click on this, I'll make this a little bit bigger, so it's a big tool. And then I'm going to make sure the opacity is 100%. And now, with it checked on the action previous to the blur, I can paint over this and it'll bring the top of the t-shirt back to its original clear state, which can be really great for working with the shadow. Right, now the shadow looks like purpley paint, so I'm going to do the same thing with a different action. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make that shadow rather dark. Okay, maybe even darker. All right, and the same thing. I can go back over here to the previous history, paint this back to that lighter color, leaving the shadow dark. So it's just a great way that you can kind of edit forward and back. I tend to do this technique quite a bit when I'm manipulating Photoshop. All right, last but not least, this is not a transparent shadow, so I'm going to take the eraser tool with 50% opacity and a much larger brush that is soft. I'm going to go in and just simply delete out a little bit more of that. So it looks like a bit more of a shadow. Okay. If I wanted to go more, I could. Maybe I'll wrap this down to just 8%. Take just a little bit more away. That looks pretty good. Okay, so there you go. I have exported a layer out in Cinema 4D with an alpha channel to seamlessly layer this into our scene to make this t-shirt monument. And let's make sure our viewer is a little bit closer so we get that nice proximity. There you go. Okay, there you have it. Using an alpha channel out of Cinema 4D.